Welcome to Rebel Roots Nutrition. I'm Carla, your host. Today, we are going to talk about toxins in the context of pregnancy, lactation, and how to support our natural detox pathways. Pregnancy and lactation, and even when we're trying to conceive, this isn't really the right time to be, diving into a detox protocol. And some of these are very rigorous. They include herbs that just aren't tested and known to be safe during pregnancy. So we really want to be thinking about how do we support our natural detox pathways using food and the nutrients in those foods. There's lots of research showing this accumulation of toxins and chemicals that are detected in the umbilical cord. So when our babies are born, we're already seeing these toxins present. And we live in just this ever more toxic environment than our parents, our grandparents. And so this is a topic that I think is just really incredibly important. So stay with me for a minute while I switch to my screen, and I'm going to share some slides with you. So as mentioned, today we are talking about supporting our detox pathways naturally and safely during pregnancy and postpartum. Again, we are talking about this because of the level of exposure to toxins that is very well evident in some of the studies that have been performed to look at these levels in the umbilical cord when babies are born. And because this is not the right time to be applying rigorous detox protocols, we need to think about how we can do this safely and effectively using food and the nutrients in our food. So as you can see by the pictures here, there's lots of different places where these chemicals come, into play, and they enter into our bodies through the air, through our water supply, through pesticides, skincare. And if you tuned in last time, I had a conversation with a dear friend of mine, Leanne Hill, who is a holistic esthetician, and she really just kind of laid out for us what types of chemicals we should be concerned about entering through our skin. And so the reason this is so important is because there's certain chemicals and pollutants that we don't really have a lot of control over, but then there are these other areas of our lives where we do have a bit more control. This could be, around what we apply to our skin. This can revolve around the types of house cleaning supplies we choose, and sometimes just how we drink our water, avoiding plastic. So a lot of these toxins are considered xenoestrogens and endocrine disruptors. These are directly affecting our endocrine system and the hormones involved. So our sex hormones, they can interrupt our thyroid hormones. We also are needing to be aware of carcinogens, cancer-causing chemicals. There are really thousands of chemicals out there that we know about that are unregulated and untested. Heavy metals. Let's move on and talk about how do we detox these chemicals. So we have different pathways that involve the liver, the kidneys, GI tract, the skin, the lungs. So, when we urinate, when we have our bowel movements, we sweat, even when we breathe and we exhale. These are pathways to elimination. But the liver is really this superhero organ that's working nonstop to help us filter out these chemicals. We're going to pay a little special attention to the liver here today and talk about the two different phases of liver detoxification. So phase one is called functionalization. And this is where we need to first make these toxins that are not water soluble. We need to make them water soluble. This is going to allow them to travel through the bloodstream and ultimately exit the body. So when these become functionalized, these toxins are being acted on by different enzymes. The cytochrome P450 enzymes are an example of a set of enzymes that do this work. And this stage requires a lot of antioxidants. So we really need to think about increasing our antioxidants to support liver detoxification, this first stage, because this functionalization causes the toxin to be a little bit more toxic in the interim before it is before the next stage. The second stage is called conjugation. Conjugation is where this functionalized molecule is now bound to a water-soluble molecule for transport. So there's different types of water-soluble molecules and different types of conjugation. These include glucuronidation, which includes glucose, methylation, which includes some of our B vitamins, as well as methionine and SAMe. And then glutathione conjugation, which involves glutathione and the precursors to glutathione. And these are amino acids, cysteine, glycine, glutamic acid. And then finally, sulfation, which involves sulfur. We will come back to those two phases to talk about foods that we should be eating that provide the nutrients to support those phases. But for now, I just want to touch on GI tract support because this is really important as well. We need to be thinking about our gut health, and soluble fiber is really important to this, our gut bacteria, because both of these help to support avoiding constipation. And this soluble fiber just really helps to move things along. This is, and not just soluble fiber, actually all fiber, really helps to bind the toxins and help to move it out, as well as insoluble fiber, which is just helping us with our bowel movements and keeping these regular. And this is important because constipation otherwise can result in reabsorption of toxins. And they're referred to sometimes as deconjugated toxins, because what can happen is that certain gut bacteria, pathogenic gut bacteria, can produce beta-glucuronidase, which is an enzyme that deconjugates those toxins that we had conjugated to get ready to move out of the body. And so when they become deconjugated, it just simply means that now they're not able to move out of the body, and instead they end up getting recirculated. So what are some of the nutrients that we need in order to make phase one move smoothly? Well, we do know that we need several of the B vitamins. So riboflavin, this one is B2, and it comes from spinach, legumes, dairy, salmon, eggs. Niacin, B3. This one comes from poultry, brown rice, nuts, seeds, bananas. B6, pyridoxine, comes from sweet potato, broccoli, fish, and garlic. And these are just some examples, but I think hopefully that paints a picture of like thinking about just a really well-rounded whole foods diet. When we're eating a really well-rounded whole foods diet, we should be getting a lot of these nutrients. Now, during pregnancy and lactation, it is still always essential to be taking a prenatal vitamin, a high quality prenatal vitamin. So you'll also be getting, certain levels of these nutrients from your prenatal vitamin as well. But folate is a great example of a nutrient that We also sometimes supplement with folic acid. That's the synthetic version. Folate is the natural version, and it's much more bioavailable to the body. So thinking about folate-rich leafy greens, that's a really good source. Sunflower seeds, whole grains, often are fortified with this folic acid version. But this is a great place to think about your prenatal vitamin, and a high quality one will have a good methylated folate in there. And that's a topic for another time that I'm sure I'll explore in more detail. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, if you have any questions specifically around that, please do reach out, and my contact information is at the end. Cobalamin, this is B12. We can get this mainly from animal products. It tends to be stored in the animal protein well, but really it actually comes from bacteria. So it can be found also fortified in grains and nutritional yeast. And it's one that we should really think about supplementing if we are not getting enough through food or our prenatal. Glutathione, this again is not really directly coming from food. Instead, we're just really needing to focus on the major 3 amino acids, glycine, cysteine, and glutamic acid, that combine to form glutathione. So sulfur-rich foods can provide this. Cruciferous veggies, sulfur-rich foods are like onions and garlic, and some of these cruciferous veggies, broccoli, cauliflower, like we talked about, Brussels sprouts. And also avocado can provide some of these. Selenium is a cofactor of glutathione. And so seafood is a good source, but also Brazil nuts are a really good source. And even oatmeal contains some selenium. Branched chain amino acids, these are known to, according to some studies, to enhance ammonia detoxification in the skeletal muscles. So this is found in milk, cheese, quinoa, legumes, meat, pretty widely available in a lot of different protein sources. You can find these. Phytonutrients are really important here, and zinc, and I'll talk about them together just because they both are acting as antioxidants. And like I kind of mentioned earlier, in that phase 1, we really need to, we really need increased high levels of antioxidants to support this process and to reduce any potential inflammation that could be caused during that time. So phytonutrient foods include really your leafy greens and super colorful fruits and vegetables. And zinc-rich foods include pumpkin seeds, lamb, lentils, cashews. Those are all great sources. Foods for phase 2. So for phase 2, there's a lot of crossover with these foods. So again, our sulfur-containing foods, cruciferous veggies contain DIM or diindole methane and indole 3 carbonyls, and they're known to convert these more toxic forms of estrogen into less toxic forms of estrogen, which those more toxic forms tend to be associated with breast cancer and are known to be carcinogenic. So cruciferous veggies, I just can't talk enough about them. And so let's see, we have, a lot of these other amino acids again coming into play. So really thinking about high quality protein here. And then again, the B vitamins, folate, B12. And as far as choline, that one is really important. It's a building block of liver cell membranes. So these are highly, liver is highly vulnerable to damage as well. And so, it's doing such a fantastic job of trying to clear toxins for us. And we really need to think about how can we support the structure of the liver. So salmon, legumes, egg yolks, these are all great sources of choline. So, we want to talk about estrogen metabolism. We kind of touched on that, but because these xenoestrogens are so, we're inundated with these in our environment, we have to think about just high levels of estrogen. Soluble fiber is really important here, and oats, flax, apples, Brussels sprouts, these are all great sources, but these help to eliminate excess estrogen. Insoluble fiber, again, to help with that, the movement, the bowel movements, making these really smooth. And then probiotic rich foods, again, here, these would include kimchi, sauerkraut, yogurt, kefir. So these probiotics are going to enhance the gut flora and help to rebalance that, reducing that beta glucuronidase. I hope that this was helpful. It's just kind of like a really sort of brief overview of these phases of elimination by the liver and kind of looking at the importance of the GI tract. I would love to answer any questions you might have. This is where you can find me. My website is www.rebelrootsnutrition.com, and stay tuned for the next conversation.